Welcome to Main Street Matters by Heart on Main Street, the podcast that tells you that you don't need more friends, you just need to do more with the ones that you have. I'm your host, Patrick Heiser. Hey, real quick, today's episode is brought to you by our friends at the podcast Rooted in Retail. Rooted in Retail by Crystal Volkaitis is dedicated to helping independent retailers in the independent retail community navigate an ever-changing retail landscape. Weekly, Crystal features amazing guests from in and around the retail industry to provide insights on how to build a better business. I've literally listened to every single episode of this podcast, and I always find the conversations thought-provoking and inspiring. I can't tell you how many times I've decided to try something different or push myself out of my comfort zone because of the conversations that I've listened to on Rooted in Retail. Check out Rooted in Retail wherever you listen to your podcasts. Now back to our episode. In today's episode, we will be talking to Nick McHenry of OneShop Retail. This interview was recorded during our March webinar. To register for future webinars or watch a recording of this webinar, you can visit heartonmainstreet.org. After a career in fashion retail, both in-store and on the wholesale side, Nick founded OneShop Retail to help provide retailers with more dynamic ways to reach their customers and stay on their minds in order to help drive traffic to the store so that they are not reliant on new customer acquisition to grow their business. OneShop is an all-in-one digital marketing platform designed for brick-and-mortar retailers. It's been helping retailers leverage digital marketing tools to boost sales by connecting with customers on all channels through shoppable video, photos, and text. Nick is an incredibly energetic and passionate person who is centered around helping independent retailers succeed in business. So this was a fantastic conversation about digital marketing and strategies to help drive revenue by maximizing customer purchase frequency. As a note, I accidentally missed recording the first minute or so of this conversation, so you'll notice Nick jump right into talking about why he formed OneShop. However, that was pretty close to the beginning of our conversation. So without further ado, here's my interview with Nick McHenry of OneShop Retail.
And the reason we started OneShop is I was traveling around basically like a third of my year to all these retailers, and I was so tired of asking people like, well, how's business? And the answer would always be like, oh, foot traffic is slow right now. Like it was always a foot traffic answer, basically like, yeah, it's been tough. Foot traffic's been slow. And so the reason we started OneShop was really like, there's got to be more to this, because if foot traffic is slow, like what can you do to preempt that as opposed to just feeling like you're just on your heels where you're just waiting for foot traffic to sort of like play out the way it plays out. So we launched OneShop specifically for luxury retail at the beginning with this idea that the one thing that you could rely on was your VIP customers and being like super high touch with them, texting them, letting them know when new arrivals came, letting them know when new deliveries happened, and giving them this incredible like Uber VIP experience. And they would spend, tens of thousands of dollars at your store. So we were like, okay, could we use technology to take this magical moment of, I know you super well, and you're my super high level client, and then allow that experience to be given to all of your customers, no matter who they are, whether they spend $1 or they spend $10,000. So we started our platform really starting with that very tippy top of like, okay, how can we build a platform where we integrate their point of sale, we integrate their e-commerce, and allow you to really know who your VIPs are. And if you feel like you know them, you can easily text or email them very personally, like a CRM would allow. So I can, send you a message saying like, hey, Patrick, I know you just had a baby. Like we got this new product in store. Would love to send you some pictures of it. That's like the VIP experience. As time is progressive, we've sort of democratized that into other marketing and loyalty tools with this sole reason of, okay, how do we help you drive frequency and drive retention? And I can talk about why that's important. But we now have, basically what would compete against, let's say, like MailChimp or Constant Contact. We have a great email and text marketing platform that, because it integrates with your point of sale, you can easily segment your lists. So you can go off someone who recently shopped or is a new customer or bought a certain brand in your store. That's super easy in our platform. And then we have a loyalty program as well that sort of just layers on top of all that is pretty flexible for retailers as well.
That's amazing. I love that it is email and it's text, but you're talking, the relying on foot traffic and, some of that can ebb and flow, but you do have consistent customers that are coming in. So how can you reach them more often, get them to purchase more frequently, build that better relationship with them, I think is such a valuable thing.
our general macro thesis obviously we're building our company around this. So that's the one caveat to everyone listening. Like we're building this because we believe in it, but we see it from the numbers, right? So because we integrate the point of sale in e-commerce, we see literally every year hundreds of millions or billions of dollars of sales go through our platform. So we can see from the data what is working and what is not working, as opposed to just making our own opinion of what we think you should or shouldn't do, right? And what we see from that data is, it's so funny. Like when I talk to retailers, and if you guys are in the call and you're the retailer, feel free to raise your hand. There's no shame. But we always think about, well, what do I need, Patrick? I need new customers. I need to find new customers. Like whatever reason, it burns in our brain that like, I need to find a way to do new customers.
If I can get 1,000 more people through the door.
Like, oh my God, if I could just get new customers, my business would be on fire. Like, how do I get new customers? So I think like in our brain, we have this thing implanted where it's like, I need new customers. So like, that's what needs to fuel my business. I can't grow without that. And so like, that's first of all, it's really hard to get new customers. Like, yeah, you can rely on once again natural foot traffic, but it's like running ads, like doing things at your local like street or whatnot. But interesting like numbers that we discovered. This was a really big aha moment for our business and for the retailers we work with. So when you look at retention, what does that mean? So we look at like, okay, if you get a new customer, let's just like today's March 27th. Let's say we got a new customer January 1st last year, right? So at the first of 2023, it's now been 15 months since we got that new customer. How many of those new customers actually continue shopping with you versus fall off and just like, we would call them churn away? So like basically don't come back. That's sort of like your retention rate of your customer base, right? So when we look at the dollars on a year-over-year basis, which is basically, if you take 2 years ago, the customers that shop with you, how many dollars did customers spend 2 years ago that they did not spend them again with you the year after? Right? So they did not repeat purchase. So like, okay, they were there, they spent X dollars, thousands or millions of dollars, and then they did not come back the year after. And that number, which is like this, we would call it like a savable number where you could impact and get them to come back through a bunch of strategies we can talk about on this call, is almost always equal to the amount of new business you brought in. Okay? So think about that. So if you're bringing in $1 million in new business, you also lose $1 million in business every year from not getting your customers to come back again. So you're working so hard. You're working so hard to get new customers in your store, and literally, by the year after that, that work is gone because you're not actually retaining your customers to come back again and shop with you.
That's really, really interesting. And I love that there is data behind that. I mean, if you're just focusing more on the customers that you have and working more with them, touching base with them more often, that will equal out to a level of the playing field of all of that work of building out new customers.
We did a survey, it's probably about 2 years ago now, but it was still super relevant, I think, today. And we use a lot of this for our current product, which is we went to the customers that didn't come back. And we were like, why didn't you shop again? Like, hey, you shopped at this retailer A, 1 year ago. What happened? Did you have bad service? Did you not like the product or the prices? Almost everybody answered, I just forgot about them. I just went out my life. I had a good experience. Like I liked the product. I went out along with my life. I'm busy. I just like completely forgot about them. Very few people were like, well, it didn't have what I wanted, or the price was too high, or the salesperson was mean. So it's almost just like you're lost in the abyss of other noise. So it's like, okay, great. What does that tell us? That tells us that, they're there to be wowed and be brought back in, basically. They just forgot about you. That means like the problem is actually like an engagement problem potentially, and just being on their radar and figuring out the right things to get them to come back. Then, they just don't like my store.
Right. So I think that, great segue. I think a lot of independent retailers, especially, are maybe intimidated by digital marketing. We're getting into social media, building a presence there, but the idea of consistently sending out emails and text marketing, that seems like something that, okay, that's the big brands that do that. That's the big stores. Little old me, my independent retail store, where no one wants to hear from me that often or wants me to text them. So, I mean, what are the benefits to having that, the email marketing, the text marketing, and to be able to reach customers that way?
For sure. Well, the number one benefit of having an email list or a text list is this is the only surefire way to drive customers back in store. You need a communication channel that you own and control for you to actually be able to engage your customers and come back in store. So I'll tell you an interesting story. So I'm not sure if anybody in the audience, maybe wants to sell their business someday or sell their store. But I recently, I worked, my background came from the menswear side. So I worked with a couple stores that were actually selling their business. They didn't have a next generation taking it over, and they were actually selling their business. One of them had an email list, and one of them had no email list, no phone, no nothing, no way to contact their customers. They did about the same revenue, and they're about the same area. The one that had the email list sold for about twice as much as the one that did not. Why is that? Because the buyer was like, well, how do I drive? Like, I see you do $1 million a year, but like, what do I do to impact that besides just open the doors? Whereas in the scenario of I have email or text, I can actually use that to directly get in touch with my customers. Now, a lot of people will be like, it's so funny when you walk into stores, and I feel like you go to a lot of stores, I go to a lot of stores, and just like keeping you're in the industry, you should keep your eyes open. I'm sure people in the audience can have their stores this way right now. What do you see in the windows? What do you see in the fitting room? What do you see at the cash register? Follow us on Instagram or follow us on Facebook. Everyone's call to action is follow us on social media, which is great, by the way. Like, we have social platform stuff in our app, and it's great to have a social following. The problem with a social following is you don't own the audience. Facebook or Instagram owns the audience. So it's what we call in the industry like third-party data versus owned first-party data. So basically, like, you could build a gigantic Instagram, and Instagram can say, you know what, we're going to start focusing only on reels, but you don't do any reels. So guess what? We're not going to show your content to anybody. Tough. I'm sorry. Guess you better learn video. Too bad. Like,
get like 1% of views to your content. Yeah.
So it's like, you just can't guarantee that for Sarah in, whatever, Chicago, that I can get a hold of Sarah and let her know that her favorite dress just arrived at my store, or her favorite item or whatnot. You just can't predictably do that. So you need to have it. Like, I would say it's an absolute requirement. If anyone on the call does not have an email list, like, hang up the call right now and figure out a way to get an email list together, because it's just so important to have that fallback. You should also be growing a social media presence. You should also be growing a Facebook presence and Instagram presence. It's kind of a yes and scenario. But what we kind of recommend is the best thing you could do with your Instagram or Facebook audience is also start to transition them into a owned audience. So like your email list or your text list. So most of the time people treat these as separate things. If I check out at your point of sale, I give you my email, and then there's like a QR code to follow you on Instagram. We see like our biggest tip, that's just like a hack that you guys can all do the minute you hang up, is to use your Instagram or Facebook audience to say, hey, join our email list. Sign up here. We give exclusive promotions. We give exclusive updates on that email list. And that way you're sort of like double dipping them, and you're pulling them off of Instagram or Facebook, where they may or may not see your post. We all know that they may see it, they may not see it, but in your email or in your text, not that they're guaranteed to see it either. You have to deal with the noise there as well, but at least you can guarantee that it got delivered to them. With Facebook, they literally it could have never been in front of their face. Like, it could have been never in their feed because the algorithm decided it's not going to go to Patrick or it's not going to go to Nick. And with text and email, that very, very rarely happens.
Yeah, it's a great point. Like, yeah, you control that. You guarantee that it gets into their inbox, and whether they read it or not. And text, that can kind of a whole another animal there. But build it. If you were to start, if you don't have an email list or a text list, starting that off, how do you start getting people to opt into that and kind of avoid kind of the awkward, would you want can you send me your email?
No, for sure. So listen, it is awkward if you haven't been doing it. Like, of course it's awkward. I'm not going to get away from it. At the end of the day, we know how it is. Like, customers are fatigued when they shop. They put their defenses up. Like, the minute they check out at a point of sale, they're like, oh, geez, I know what's coming. And the minute you ask for email, they immediately go on like the defense, like, oh, I can't give this, because they got asked at every other store they shopped at. So very rarely is someone going to be like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe you have an email list. I'm so excited to be on it. That being said, I think most people on this audience are local retailers and not chains. If you're a local retailer, you have such a leg up on the chain retailers, because they're shopping local for a reason, right? So they are way more wanting to hear from you than fill in XYZ chain store that everybody knows about, just because they want to support you and they want your local voice and your local curation. The one thing that I think people misunderstand, though, is that with email or text, you have to be delivering some value. It's not just, they're not obligated to give you their email or phone number just because they shop at your store. Like, oh, why do you need it? They shop at your store. So I see people all over the place doing like all kinds of I would call it like unethical hacks to get email. Like, oh, you have to have an email to be in our system, or like, oh, to do your returns, you need an email or phone number in our system. That is not, in my opinion, it's not the right way of going about it, because what happens is, sure, you might have gotten their email, but now you're going to use that email or text in a way that they did not intend to. Right. And that misalignment creates a bad experience. You're literally catfishing them, right? So you're telling them like, oh, we just need your email in our system. And the next day you're like, hey, new delivery. And they're like, whoa, hold on. You told me that you just, you told me that you just needed your email for your system. So like you're already starting off on basically a lie. So what we recommend is giving them, doesn't even have to be a huge value prop. Even what I just said, we do exclusive sales at our store, or, to this list once a month. It could be some nugget. It could be like, we give first notice goes to our email list. Like when new stuff arrives, it goes to that list. We do exclusive promotions sometimes in that list. We, if you need to get a hold of us, like that's the email that, we have a two-way email. You can get back a hold of us. There's lots of things you can do to utilize that email. And going one layer deeper in complexity, it's like, keep in mind, you guys are going to use this email to generate a return, ideally, right? You're going to use this email or text list to basically market to your customers and get them to shop again. So there is value to it. And I can give you a bunch of ways about how to calculate that value, but there is value to it. So I think sometimes people are afraid to offer like a one-time discount or something for signing it up. We're big fans of it, just because at the end of the day, it's almost always ROI positive for you as a retailer. If I give you a 10% coupon, if you don't have 10% margin on your full price items anyways, you're probably in the wrong business as a whole. Like you're doing something else wrong anyways. So I think you're still making the margin. To give a 10% coupon for signing up to the email list, it's kind of like table stakes. Like they go shop at Zara or H&M, they're going to get 10% off their next order for giving their email list. You're kind of making this exchange, but you're also providing some value by, you're giving me your email address. So in the content, I'm going to have new deliveries, but you're also getting 10% off your next purchase. Another hack, I would say, it works very well for the folks on this call, is tell them how often you'd be emailing, because people think they're going to get smashed, right? Right. So it could be as frequent or as infrequent as you want. But once again, you want alignment of what you're promising and what you're delivering on. You don't want to stray from that. So it works really well to be like, I know we're not like the other people on the street. We only send one email a week that has exclusive promotions for our store only. And people will be like, great, one email a week I can deal with. I'm in, like, sign me up.
I think even sense? Yeah, from an independent retailer perspective, I think one email a week, that's, we're doing a whole lot of other things. And so the mind concept of getting an email out every single day is, we don't have the bandwidth to be able to do that. Totally. And I think we often underestimate how often our customers do want to hear from us. You mentioned before, they're shopping at your store because they want to shop local, because they want to be a part of that community and shop the downtown area. And really, you're not a burden to that email. It's not a burden to them like it might be from a larger chain or something, where it's just like, okay, they send this out to 10,000 different, probably that's even a low number. They send this out to 1 million different people. Right. This is a, more catered, this is, kind of a select email list that you get to be part of.
And you feel the human behind it, right? So like the other thing I'd recommend doing with your email list is like really like, I'm sure we all are signed up to some form of email list, Target or Amazon or whatever. Like you want to be as human as possible, right? They're shopping at your store because you're a local retailer, not just because like you just happen to be a store on the street. So we always think that like, if you look at the way Target sends their emails, try to figure out how you can do things that they would never do, right? They're never going to put a photo of the owner at the top and be like, from Nick, thanks so much for shopping at my store. Like, we really appreciate it. Sign Nick, the owner. Like that's just not going to happen. Like, I don't even know who the owner of Target is, like it's just not going to happen, right? Or people aren't going to want it even if they do, because it's some faceless person, right? But they do want like, the things we see that work really well from the stores, like our team's top picks, like the people love that. Like our team's favorite items, like a little photo of like your staff in the thing, or emails from the owner work really well as well. Like specific emails from the owner. You can get real tactical with that, but one thing that you mentioned there that I want to touch on, Patrick, is you mentioned the amount of workload it takes to do email or text, let's say, just even communication, just like, oh, I got to prep this thing. I know as store owners, we're already so busy. It's like, how can I possibly do one more thing? So first of all, with the gathering of the email, it shouldn't feel like one more thing, because it should be built into your training of your cashier process of you check the merchandise off, and you ask them to join your email list. 100% of the time, that should be part of your checkout flow. So it shouldn't feel like a bunch of extra work. But when it comes to the emailing, the way that we find is the easiest way to start emailing is to think about your email list. This is a good tip for social media too, to think about it like a TV series. And so when you think about a TV series, what do TV series not do? You don't watch a TV series and every time you watch the show, it's a new plot, it's a new theme, it's a new character. It doesn't happen. There's some framework that's repeatable, right? You don't watch like one episode and it's like a chase, murder, mystery, thriller, and the next time it's like stand-up comedy on the same series. Not the case, right? There's like a format and like a lineage of that. So the easiest way to do it where you're consistent with your email, because another big thing is consistency, not just like send an email once and I never sent an email for 6 more weeks, and then we did it again. You want to be consistently put them out on a timeline, is to figure out what is your series. It could be like we have some stores where like are very event heavy in stores. So it's like we have events twice a month. We do emails just for those events. At the bottom, it's why we love the event. Some people just do like, we do emails for new deliveries only. We get new deliveries every week. The email is our top picks from that week's delivery. That way you don't have to think about what am I going to put in the email. You should have to think about, okay, I have this series. It's called new deliveries. We do it once a week. In this series of new deliveries, I'm going to remix and say, well, I got new product. Now I'm just going to take my new product images, put them in the email, and mention why I love this new product. And that can be done infinitely. You don't ever have this brain weight now of, okay, how do I like think of the new content to go in the email or text list?
I have not thought about that kind of in that frame before, but it does kind of cut down. It makes a purpose for your emails so that you are a consistent application of what you want to deliver to your retailers or to your customers. Sorry.
It's also when it hits, it's the reason I come back. Like I know when I follow Patrick on Instagram because I'm following him to see him walk around Main Streets. Like that's what he does.
Main Street Monday.
Like literally, that's why I follow Patrick. Like I follow Patrick because great. I know he's gonna do Main Street Monday. And I'm gonna watch him walk around a new Main Street. I'm like, I didn't even know that street was so beautiful. Like that's why I follow Patrick. I can know and deliver on that content. So if you treat your email list that way, it's like I love this series from local retailer. You can get super creative with it. It's just you don't have to worry about constantly, oh my God, how do I think of this new thing? And then all you're doing now is like you're adding new series, right? So if your store is a TV channel, great. I've got Series A, new deliveries. Hey guys, we want to launch Series B, which is email once a month to our VIPs, telling them why our VIPs, and then Series C, which is da-da-da-da, and like that is in your new. You launch things in series, not like let's try an email one time. It does this thing.
Yeah. And kind of every time a different concept and every time a different, having it this consistent thing that makes sense. I love that. Yeah, kind of making a TV series for the emails.
And your customers will tell you, like they'll say, like, oh my God, I love your emails that are the new delivery, like whatever, new delivery Thursdays. I would love to know like when you're on sale, like, and they'll tell you sort of like what they'll lead you into whatever that next series is.
Nice. Yeah. So from that, I know open rates don't necessarily matter as much anymore. I mean, you've kind of hit on, but what are some things that you've seen be really successful in getting that attention and getting that, attract to the email?
Yeah. So I'm going to dodge and I'm going to answer your question.
Okay.
So the first thing I'm going to do to dodge is because you touched upon something super important, which is one of the number one mistakes that we see people making with their email list is over optimizing for the open rate. Okay. The amount of times that people will come to us and be like, Nick, I do a great job with email. I have a 50% open rate. It's incredible. And there's 2 reasons why it doesn't really matter. One is the email providers don't want you to actually know the open rate. So they've done things in the past couple of years that skew that number. So in 2021, Apple basically said, if you email Apple Mail, we're going to open the email before it even gets into our inbox. So like that meant all open rates immediately went up because Apple is like hiding that from you. It doesn't mean the customer opened it. It means Apple, like they're using Apple Mail, opened it for everybody, basically. So they're ruining your email opens. But the other thing is, even putting that aside, what does open rate tell you? Open rate would be like, we have a store and all we care about is how many people we got in. We don't care about how many people bought anything. We just care, all we care about, Patrick, is I want the store with the most people that set foot in for 5 seconds. And you say, how many sales did you do, Nick? And I said, we didn't do any sales. Like, we had so many people in store. It was so awesome. Open rate, all it tells you is when you have your email inbox, did your title work? It's good for that purpose only.
Yeah.
Am I writing a title that people want to open? Like whatever that title is, new deliveries or sale or whatnot, That's all it tells you. It doesn't tell you if the content's great, doesn't tell you if it drove sales. It just tells you, did it get opened? So like we would use that. I'm not saying you should ignore it. Like, I don't care about open rates anymore. But you should only look at that as, all right, if it's 10%, what you need to improve is your title. Like, okay, 10% open rate, I need to do, a better title, let's say. Like the example we give, which is a bad example, it's like, if you wanted to be like, how do I get a 100% open rate on an email? You would just send an email that says, your credit card's been stolen. Like that would get a 100% open email rate, but it's not ethical, obviously, but like, that's all it tells you, right? It doesn't tell you like if they wanted to open it or was it good or was it bad. It just got people to open the email. So you want to fix your open rate. If your open rate is too low, you want to fix your title. The better thing to look at is, did this actually drive sales in my store? So the way, and we have some tools that can help you with this. So obviously, like reach out to me or reach out to our team. You can go to oneshopretail.com. We have some tools that help you track this. We call it like the conversion dollar amount, which is, okay, after I send my emails, did people actually come in and shop in my store? So the analog way, like without something like OneShop, is you can just take, like, you should be registering your email address for the person at your point of sale and getting their email address. So a lot of stores we meet are just like, well, we don't actually ring the sale under that customer. I think that's a huge mistake. Like, you should always be ringing the customer, even if you sell $10 items, under the name if you can. And that you can say like, oh, we just do it in case you need to return or keep your record or whatnot. You should always be ringing Patrick as Patrick in your point of sale, whether it's Square or Shopify or Lightspeed, doesn't matter. You should be ringing Patrick. If you're ringing Patrick in your point of sale under, whatever Patrick's email is, Patrick at Heart on Main Street, and you have Patrick at Heart on Main Street on your email address, you can literally just export from MailChimp or OneShop or Constant Contact the email addresses from that broadcast. Let's say you sent a new delivery email, and then you can export your sales from the last week, let's say, and just cross-reference those emails and say, all right, did any of these emails show up in our sales the next day? And then basically tally those. Listen, it's not a super simple exercise, by the way. I'm totally understanding. It's not like the easiest of exercises. You don't need to be doing it constantly, but at least do it like once a month. Just be like, all right, for this month's sales, let's look at our email list. People who are subscribed. Did any of those people who are subscribed actually buy anything in our store? If the answer is 0, it's like, all right, well, we're probably not saying the right things in our email. One thing I will note is that people, when we surveyed customers that shop at retail stores, do want retail store associated content. So we haven't had that many stores succeed at like once again, it should be personal. It should be as personal as you can be under the context of you own a retail store. So what I mean by that is we haven't had many people succeed on like just doing an email newsletter or an email like campaigns that don't mention product or what you're selling. They're just like, my favorite place to eat in my town. Like, people have tried that. Like, our owner's 5 favorite places to eat in, whatever, Chicago or whatnot. Those like people are like, wait, but you're a retail store. Like, if I want to know what places to eat, I'm going to go to like a restaurant or something like that. Yeah, food blog or something like that. So they do care about it being like, you can actually sell in this medium. Like, you care about it to be like, we have new product, or it's on sale, or here's why we love our product, or here's some product knowledge we have on it. And so that because you're doing that, there should be a like the end outcome should be that entices somebody to buy. And then you track, what that dollar amount is loosely. So all right, did this campaign work better than this campaign, and what's working and what's not working.
That's really interesting. I really like being able to take that email list, see who bought. Probably a little bit time consuming, but being able to really see how did this translate into sales, and was this email campaign worth it? Did we get much out of that? But I think even just the reminder that you're there, right. And through an email is just kind of touching base with them, letting your customer know that you exist, that you're there for them, that you're interested in seeing them come back. All of those things get someone to come back in the story, stay more front of mind for them.
One thing I would also recommend retailers do, if you guys can do this, is, okay, if you're starting from day one, you've never done an email to your customers, I would not do this. This is like a level 2 thing. If you're starting from day one, I would just pick your series and stay to your series. Like, okay, great. Once a week, we're going to send a series of new deliveries out to our customers. Pick that series and just do that. If you're already doing the series, I would highly recommend trying to introduce platforms we call them segments in OneShop. I think MailChimp calls them segments as well, or Constant Contact calls them something else. But you want to try to do, like, your goal with your email list is to try to give the customer the information they want at the time they want it. right? So like, yeah, you might be creative or you might be entertaining. That might be your value prop. But really, like, if you can segment your list, John put a great question. I'm going to answer in a second. But so what you want to do is you want to segment your list with some sort of like personalization. So like, if the most personal email I could send is like, hey Patrick, I know you just had a baby. Like, I got this great stuff for you. I just know you specifically. How can I take that concept of something super personal and use an email list to sort of replicate it? So a very easy example of this is we have a new delivery of this brand of product, or our top selling brand or style or whatnot, as opposed to just sending a mass email to everybody saying like, check out our new thing. Doing an email to only people who have bought that brand in the last 1 year, and just simply change your phrasing as to that audience. So you would just simply say, hey guys, hey first name, like there's always a first name field that can fill in the first name for you. We have a new delivery of this product. I know you bought it in the last year. Now's the time to get like the new colors. You're speaking to the audience knowing that they already bought it. Even that one line of because you bought this is why you, like, even the title being like new, like because you bought insert brand, is automatically more personal than almost all stores get, where most stores are just like, we have stuff. And because like most stores sell a wide assortment of things, like it's likely that you're sending things to people like, oh man, I'm either getting too many emails, I don't care about this brand. We're trying to do something like that, or even just your VIPs. Let me pull my top customers from the last 12 months and putting it like, you're one of our top customers. Like, because you're a VIP, here's early access to this new product we bought. So trying to like filter in some of these like micro series, if you will. So like, okay, a micro series once a month, we're going to email our VIPs, or when a new delivery comes, we're first going to email people that have bought that. This is like, once again, more complex. It's level 2. In a platform like OneShop, it's pretty simple to just drop down and choose like the brand that they bought. But either way, like it does convert better when you be more personal. So one question that John asked, which is a super common question we get, which is what about when most customers are tourists / visitors, not local, maybe they're regional? We have tons of stores where they're like a huge percentage of their business is tourists. So this answer is not super easy to implement, but it can be not super difficult. So basically, it's hard to know from like a data set. It's you're not going to ask everybody's address. Like, it's just super hard in brick and mortar retail to just ask everybody's address. Obviously, you have an e-commerce site. Yeah, and it's like people are like, why do you need my address? Like, if you're not shipping something to someone, like I would say in the hierarchy of what they're willing to give you, it's like email, then phone, then address. Because like, well, they're just going to try to not give you the address. So, but what is easy to note is like, oh, do you live around here? And then having some, like every POS and every email like service, like OneShop, once again, MailChimp, Constant Contact has this. They all have some form of tagging or labeling of the customer in the database. So once again, all point of sale systems also have this. So just simply having your cashiers ask when they check out as part of your process, like, oh, do you live in the area? Most times they'll be, oh no, we're here for, weekend vacation or whatnot. Great, they're going in the tourist bucket. But then occasionally someone will say like, oh no, I live down the street. And then they're going to go on the non-tourist bucket. So now automatically you have 2 email lists that are more personal to their needs. I still recommend, people are just like, well, should I just not email the tourists? Like, obviously if you have e-commerce, you can try to sell them onto your e-commerce platform. But even if you don't know like if it's somebody that comes back once a month, maybe they have a second house there, maybe they love traveling back. We have some stores that they had tourists that liked. I traveled one time to Oakland, California, shopped at the store, had such an amazing experience that, and even though I live in New York, I'm going to have them like, they don't even have e-commerce, but I'm going to have them personally ship me stuff because I just had such an amazing time. Like, I'm going to write them personally, hey, do you have any more of, these plates, let's say, that I bought at your store? And I go, yeah, here's some photos, and like, we'll ship them to you that way. That's not super common, but it can happen. So either way, what I recommend, John, is at the cash rep or somewhere in the sales process through your sales team is training everybody to start asking, we all work a sales floor, right? When you work a sales floor, you don't just always ask like, I would not recommend asking like, can I help you? Because then people say no. You really want to strike up a conversation and be like, oh, how are you? Oh, like, I love that jacket like on the rack. It's so pretty. Like, we just got it in from so-and-so. You kind of want to strike up a conversation. So training your sales staff to like start to gather those nuggets of information will then make your post-sale follow-up infinitely more impactful. So I would say at the point of sale, just ask like, do you live around here? Do you not live around here? And then label them in some system. It could literally be a Google spreadsheet where it's like, customer A, tourist, non-tourist. And then those can get uploaded into MailChimp, into OneShop, into Constant Contact to be able to be emailed later on. So it's really more on like the labeling of that. Once again, not the easiest thing, but we do see it happening quite often.
And to your point, in tourist, vacation areas, families do tend to come back. And if you are reaching out to them and letting them know about things, being, oh, that's my favorite store in that town that we go to, that's a great thing, that you are going to come back there, that you are remembered, that one-time purchase turns into every time I go, I'm visiting that store.
I would say that, like, sometimes people are like, well, they don't live around here, so I don't want to bother them with my emails. I would say one of the most common questions we get asked is like, well, how often should I be emailing my customers? Unfortunately, I don't have like the perfect answer. Like, just do it 3 times a week and you're good. That's it. Hard stop, because we see a big variance around those things. But what I will say is almost always more people are scared of emailing more than are actually over emailing their customers, right? Like almost always people are just like, I think I'm emailing too much. And we look at their data, I'm like, you are definitely not emailing too much. You're only emailing once a week. Like, you are not, like, I would say by default, if you think you're emailing too much, I press your brain to think like you're probably not emailing too much. We have some customers who are non-local stores who are like bigger multi-state, multi-location stores. I kid you not, they email their customers every day for infinity, like 365 days a year, no breaks, every single day. And like, why do they do that? Because like they're not getting everyone to unsubscribe. So like, and you're not gonna do that like, I know nobody on this call is gonna email their customer every day. I know none of you guys are gonna do that. So it's like, I would say most people don't press it. So even tourists, like, you could probably email tourists less if you label them the way I said, but you're probably still not emailing them enough.
Yeah, it could be a seasonal. It could be if you're big in the summertime. Hey, as you're thinking about coming into our area, here's some of the new products that we have. Something like that. That's really catered towards that time of the year and when they might be there.
Can I mention one thing about text message? Or a couple text message. So text is a big part of our platform. That being said, text is much more complex than email is. The reason being is that one thing is the legal thing, and there's also like an execution thing. So with the legal side of text, so in the US, I'm assuming that most people on this call are in the US, but if you're not, it's still pretty much equally applied in Canada, which is if I shop at your store and I give you my email address, you basically have permission to like market to that customer. Like, they give you the information, they basically are a paying customer at your store, you can do that. With phone numbers, that is not the case. If you like verbally ask someone a phone number, like, hey, Patrick, can I grab your phone number and put it on your record? That by law is technically not like, yep, you can just start text blasting them every single weekend, marketing messages. There needs to be what they call like an explicit opt-in, which means that like some place I need to like enter my phone number or, hit sign up or some form of like, it could really be a sign up sheet at your register that says like, we're going to send you, text messages for marketing. There has to be some kind of like check-in of that customer. With that being said, from an execution side of things, text message does convert better than email because it gets 100% open rates. Like, there's just not enough businesses texting their customers that it just basically gets 100% open rates. That being said, it is a much, much, much more personal channel, which means that you are delicately towing your line. So you definitely want to tell them like, we're going to text you once a month about this thing, or like, we're going to text you when your order's ready. Like, you want to make sure you're super clear so they're not surprised by it. But also in that channel, you want to make sure that you're really adding value. People with email, like, even if you don't do like a super valuable email, they're getting so much other email anyways. Like, they're just going to like not open it or move on with their life or whatnot. Right. If you do the wrong text at the wrong time, they are not happy. It's like, why are you bothering me on Sunday night with my kids? Like, you just interrupted like my life, like that becomes a problem. So it's not, I'm not trying to like dissuade you. Text can be magical. Like, we have some like owners who are just doing once a week text from the owner, like thought of the day or my favorite single product of the week. Like, great. That works awesome. It's just, you got to be aware that it's a much more personal channel. So you have to be a little more careful with how you're doing your messaging versus email. You can be a little bit more loose.
Yeah, I had that down. I wanted to ask about that because it is so personal, and getting a notification on your phone is much different than getting, and the text on your phone is much different than getting an email. Do you have ways or things they should be including that to not annoy the customer, or things that are appealing to that customer through text?
I would say it just goes back to the sign up. People are like, if you think people are protective of their email, they're very protective of their phone because they know what happened in the email. Like consumers are smart, right? They know, okay, great. If I give you my email, I'm going to get, messages from you or messages from other stores. And everyone knows that their inbox has got lots of like marketing messages in it. They're very protective of their phone because if you ask most people, like, do you want your phone text to look like your email inbox? They're going to say, heck no way do I want my phone. I want it by my friends and family and occasional work things, and that's it. So, but with that, in the sign up process, this goes back to why are they signing up? People will self-select in the things that they want. So if you say, join our text list, we send once a week specials through it, and they say yes, and you deliver on that, they'll be super happy. Like it's just, once again, it's the alignment of what you're promising and what you're delivering. And then if they already signed up saying they want that, you can't really mess up the second part. Where you mess it up is like, we'll only message you once a week. And then now you're sending them for a week. And they're about random things that like, I don't care about, or sales I don't care about, or other stuff that I don't care about. I think it's more about that alignment than, what are you saying specifically in it?
So should that text list be maybe smaller or more sectioned than an email list? So it is more personal, or what are your recommendations with that?
By default, your text list will always be
smaller.
Should always be smaller. Like in general, like less people want text, and it should be smaller because you have more stringent rules around who can or cannot opt into text. One other caveat I will say, if you're not texting right now, texting is not that cheap. So like we are a software platform and we do text and email. I'm super transparent about this. Our single biggest cost as a company is paying for text messages. It's our single biggest cost as a company because email is basically free. Like not exactly, like obviously we have a cost to like send email on behalf of stores, but comparatively to text, it's basically free. Text messages, like we have to pay, like we as a company have to pay. Like, remember in the old days when you'd buy a phone and be like, you get 25,000 text messages, or you'd pay for your text messages.
Yeah.
The reason is that like those are text messages that you have to pay, like Verizon, Sprint, you have to pay them a fee basically to send those. The reason it went away is iMessage is not a text message. Like most people in America are on iMessage or on an Apple phone. So those, like when I send you a blue text, there's no cost to anybody because they're technically chat messages, not text messages, if you will. So like, just by cost, you want to like send less text because it's going to be more expensive. But the list will be smaller in that reason, but it will convert higher, right? So if you have a twice a year sale, sending a like this weekend only, it's the biggest sale of the year. We only do it for 2 days. That will drive probably more business building a text list than having a bunch of emails.
Interesting. Okay. So, coming a little bit to the end of our time. If you have questions, please pop them in. But if there is one thing that you think retailers should really focus on starting today to see an increase in customer frequency, what do you think they should start with?
So specifically for frequency, what I would recommend, and I'm going to give a two-part answer here. I'm going to give you a tactical thing and like a kind of ethereal thing. So the high level thing that I see that everybody could do to start driving frequency is to start thinking about frequency. Now I know that seems dumb. Like I know just like duh. Like if I think about it more, I'll drive it more. But I kid you not, most of the problems we see with driving frequency is people just not thinking about it. The reason being is if you look at retail, all of our metrics are not around frequency, right? What do you look at with retail metrics? You look at your sales for the month. You look at your sales for the day. You look at your sell-through. Am I selling enough of my product? There's like no metrics to track like how frequently am I getting my customer to come back? Every win is like we had a huge day of sales. We had a huge sale from a customer. Like great work, team. It's all based on like that single moment and less about the lifetime of that customer. So starting to just think about, okay, how frequently are my customers shopping? And then once you've established that, now you can build strategies like, okay, well, I think a lot of my customers are not coming back. What could we do? Could we offer a promotion to our new customers to shop a second time? Can we offer, once you've shopped 10 times, a like free thing or something like that? Can we build a loyalty program around frequency and, actually incentivize people each time they shop to shop again? Once you start changing your mindset to a longer time view of the customer, it completely changes the way you operate your business. If all you're focused on is, I need someone to come in once, buy the thing once, and I'm happy with that, you're going to operate very differently than like, I could care less what they buy today. I just want them to buy and I want them to come back again a week later, continually. Once again, the asterisk is tourist businesses, which is a little bit trickier, but like start thinking about frequency. On the flip side, like the more tactical thing I would say is just to start expanding the amount of channels that you're engaging with people. So like if each time I touch a customer in a personalized way that adds value, the caveat is not just like driving this number up with garbage, actually like a real value added way. How can I find more ways to do that? If you're not emailing your customers, you're not texting your customers, and you're only doing Instagram and Facebook, today, the first thing you can do is start an email list. Step one, that's the easiest thing you could do if you're not doing any emails to customers. If you're already emailing customers, another checkpoint might be, let's add another series of emails that add more value, or let's segment our list to VIPs and add a VIP email. Now we have 2 touch points this month. If you're doing that, maybe you add in text messages as another platform to do it. So I would say we tended to see a like linear chart of driving frequency with how frequently, like it's kind of weird to say that, but like how often you can actually personally engage them and have them want to be personally engaged. It's not just, oh man, I'm just gonna send, okay, great, Nick told me to send more emails, I'm gonna send an email every day. No, it's find more moments that they want to hear from you, right? And so I would say adding channels is one way to do that. So email or text, or this is something people don't think about often, do more things in your store that give you a reason to reach out. Okay. So if I'm thinking of frequency, how do I drive people in store more often? Maybe I should do things in store that would want someone to come back. Does that mean bringing product in more frequently? That alone should drive more frequency. If I come into a store twice in 2 months and the product hasn't changed, why would I come in more than every 2 months? Because they already have the same product. It could be more events in your store, like let me give them a reason to come in. It could be, driving exclusivity through things selling out faster. There's lots of ways to do it, but even just changing the way, like, is there a reason for them to come back in? If they shopped last month, to come back in this month.
Yeah. Like that, it is a mindset change. If you're thinking about how frequent if you're only thinking about it as a one-time purchase every single time, then you'll get a lot of one-time purchases. But if you are thinking about, well, is this a returner and how frequent can I get them to come back? You will start looking at that frequency more often, and give them a reason to come in frequently, and they will increase their frequency of being in your store.
I would say most stores, and once again, if you have questions of this, like, go to our website, you can schedule a demo. We can actually pull this report for you pretty easily with most point of sale systems. Most people don't even know what their frequency of customers is. Like, They kind of know, like in their gut, but it's like, hey, how often do your customers shop on average? It's like, I think they shop twice, maybe, ? Like, they haven't even gotten past that.
A handful that come in often, but then,
They don't actually know, like, the breakdown of the last, 1,000 customers that bought. Of those 1,000, how many of them came in again?
Speaking of your website, where can people find you, connect with you? If others have questions, please type them in the Q&A or in the chat section.
Yeah, so let me, can I chat in here? No, I can't chat.
You can't chat
in here. It's okay. I'll just tell people. Okay. So you can go to our website. It's oneshopretail.com. That is where you can basically, we have an open demo schedule. You can set up a call with myself and my team. We'll go over, we take a little bit of a consultative process. We want to understand where are you at in this process so we can make sure our software helps you. So that can all be done there. Also, feel free to personally email me. It's nick@OneShopRetail. I'm happy to, field any questions you might have there. If you didn't quite understand something I talked about here, I'm totally happy to answer any of that stuff. On the social medias, One Shop Retail. You can find me, Nick McHenry, on all socials. But email is the best place to get a hold of me, or the website itself.
And Nick is a great follow on social media. Always funny things in stores, different memes. He's a great follow. So definitely give him a follow. Erica did have a question. On average, how much time would be needed to do what you're talking about, emailing, text weekly?
Okay, so I'm going to answer this, Erica, as a once a week email or text. So I would say that the longest time with emailing in general is like the design of the email. But even that, all of the work should be on your first email. Okay, so back to like the setting this up. Okay, all of your time savings is on the setup of all of this stuff. So I would take your time with the first, but build it in a way that every follow-up is nominal work. Let's call it less than half an hour of work in general. So what I mean by that is if you do it back to the series concept, I'm going to build my series. I'm going to figure out what's the kind of format this email is going to be. It's going to be, new updates, new deliveries, a note from the owner. That's going to be my email. you build a design once and you can just use that same design every time. Like every email platform, including OneShop, allows you to just like copy that template again and basically just like change the format of that. Your store should be having like new stuff anyways pretty frequently to be sending your customers. So realistically speaking, once you have the series set up, you then have your template organized. Okay, here's how I want it to look visually. That does take a couple hours to like make sure it looks, visually nice the way you want it to look. But then really that should be the same thing with new remixed content in it every single time that you're just, I mean, if you're doing it once a week, you should be gathering the content as the week goes. You shouldn't get to your email on Fridays and be like, what are we going to put in the email this week? It should be like, we know, kind of like a content calendar. Oh, we just got delivery of, this new product. Put that on the list for the email on Friday. Oh, we just got this new, amazing new brand launch. Put that on the list for the email on Friday. So you're kind of gathering the content as it goes. So when it comes to actually doing it, you're spending like a half an hour putting in your template and sending it out.
Yeah, great. And
great
I think
question.
Probably as you were thinking about, you're thinking about that email, you will think about more things that should go in that email. Once it's kind of constant in your head, you're like, oh yeah, that can go in there and that can go in there. That first time it might be this, I'm not real sure, but then you start thinking out ahead and building that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, great question, Erica. Nick, thank you so much for being on today. I really appreciate it. This is great. I think our audience learned a lot of just ways to help increase their frequency so they can reach their customers more often and get those customers keep coming back into their stores. Thank you.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you so much for having me, Patrick.
Absolutely.
I hope you enjoyed our conversation with Nick McHenry of OneShop Retail. Next week, we will continue our shop talk conversation with new retailer Kara Poliner of Ely Mercantile in Ely, Minnesota. We will check in with her to see how she's preparing for her first summer in Ely. I hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. If you'd like to learn more about the organization Heart on Main Street or register for one of our webinars generally take place at 1 Central. However, if you register for it, you automatically get a recording of the webinar. But you can do that through heartonmainstreet.org. Main Street Matters by Heart on Main Street is written, produced, researched, and edited by me, Patrick Kaiser, with a very special thank you to Nick McHenry. Everyone, have a great week, stay safe, shop local, and I'll see you next time.